Sunday night, 9 now, on a Sunday night. This is Remember When on 3AW and KLFM Bendigo. And looking forward to this hour, Phil.
Yeah, we've been planning this for a week. Gorgeous Karen from Warner Brothers has made Wilbur Wilde available to us tonight to coincide with Time to Rock and Roll, the anthology of Old 55, a double CD with almost 60 tracks on it, some of them never before on CD. And I've asked Wilbur to bring his sax in as well. It's going to be just the best hour in the world.
(9), and you know, one thing I always recall about a Wilbur Wilde interview, Phil, and that is that Wilbur likes to be interviewed whilst almost horizontal.
Almost on the floor.
Hello, Wilbur.
Hi, Si. Hi, Phil. Lovely to be back. And can I just say about that comment on my physical position at the moment? Slouching is my spiritual home.
It is good, isn't it? Is it relaxing to sit like this?
It is too. And how lovely to hear that track, because that was recorded in about early July, maybe late June of 1975, and I joined the band about a month after that.
Is that right?
Old 55, of course, I refer to.
Did you ever meet Paul Anka, who wrote that song?
Never met Paul Anka, but have admired him for many years.
What a dynamic performer and composer.
He had a hit with it. Right. He had multi-platinum records, whereas we got Alfoil. We sold about 11 copies.
But Alfoil with the shiny side up.
I bought the cardboard version.
That's right, yes.
Mate, I always admire it when you come in, and of course you filled in when Bruce wasn't well with me, so you're an old pal of ours. But what I admire is always, just before you come in, Wilbur's always out in the other studio practicing the sax up to the very last minute. You are the total pro, mate.
Well, I have acquiesced, if you will, with alacrity to your request to bring it in tonight, Philip, and I travel just about everywhere with my saxophone, and it's an old friend. I don't have a name for it. I've got two. They're identical, for those who are interested. They're Selma Mark VI model saxophones, and just wonderful saxophones. And
the Selma Mark VI.
That's right.
It goes back to, what, 70s, early 70s, I think?
Well, the model goes back even earlier than that. My saxophone that I have with me tonight, I got from Joe Camilleri. I bought it from him second-hand in 1977, but it was probably, as best I can tell, from the serial number made in about 1970-71. Okay. So,
now, with all due respect to Joe, you have to clean it before you take it?
Oh, please. No, you don't.
No?
No, because it's the original.
Oh, well, I only asked because there was a guy in England who died because he got an infection from his bagpipes.
I saw that.
Yes. So when you say I got it second-hand from Joe, I thought, well, with all due respect to Joe...
Maltese lung. I could have had it all those years.
You need a bottle of Brasso urgently, and a chamois as well.
What, to drink, Phil?
You're too young to remember, but there was a wonderful British saxophonist during the war. Freddie Gardner.
I'm too young to remember him.
Have you got his CDs? If you haven't, I'll get a couple for you.
I reckon I've got some Freddie Gardner on vinyl. Would you believe that?
Yeah, wasn't he good?
Influential and a big band leader. And look, you know, I started learning saxophone when I was about 12 or 13.
Yeah.
So you naturally go to hear, you want to hear the people from whence we came. So Freddie Gardner was around in the 50s, and post-war, Charlie Parker and John Coltrane. So you listen to all of those.
Have you caught up with a guy called Craig Ferguson in Carnegie? He's been involved with the Woody Herman aggregation.
No, I've not. I know about Woody Herman, I know.
He plays a very mean sax, that's Craig.
I'm sure I've met Craig at some stage. Melbourne is a great town for jazz and fraternity amongst musicians, and sorority for that matter.
Yeah. Why saxophone? Why did Wilbur Wilde not decide that the harmonica was the way to go, or drums?
I feel I've shared this with Phil, but to praise it, I got a collapsed lung when I was 10, and Dr. Jolly from Luck Street, Eltham said, look, do some swimming, do some physiotherapy, and maybe play a wind instrument. instrument. So my grandparents went and bought me a clarinet, which I still have.
Yeah.
And about a couple of years later, the reason I switched to saxophone, not only because there was a vacancy on third tenor in the cadet band, but I thought that it was louder, shinier, and the chicks really dug it. So that's why I changed. And also, you know, as a reed player, you gravitate toward jazz, Simon and Phil. You know, if you're a guitar player, you gravitate toward Jimi Hendrix.
Oh, when you get on a plane, would it be easier to be playing a harmonica, for example, than lugging the sax around?
Well, you know, I like
That's why he gave up grand piano.
but I like Horidagi. And you know, they're wonderful musicians, you know. Mind you, I think as an extension of the voice, which is what playing a musical instrument is, the piano, if given my time over again, ought to be 50-50. Oh,
how many instruments do you play?
Oh, look, I'm a tenor saxophone player, and if you need me to play piano, you're in far worse trouble than you first thought.
Hey, listen, just to get off the subject for a moment, been playing golf with Blackers lately?
No, Blackers, I was away on the Variety Bash, and Blackers came along to our regular golf game. It was a Monday that I was away, but I'll see him. I'll redress that imbalance soon, Philip.
Give him our regards. We miss him.
Of course, I know he listens. Hi, John.
Yeah, nice guy.
Yeah, terrific and lovely. One of my besties, of course, and that came about not only through Hey Hey, but our radio experience together, and you socialise on radio.
Yeah, what a great radio man is
That's right.
When did you two first pair up on radio? Was that 3AK?
No, it was the racing station back in about 89, 90, and we did about 18, maybe 20 months of breakfast together. At the same time as doing mornings were Colette Mann and Ron Challoner. The Great Burke.
Yeah.
The Great Burke was, doing well, it was 3UZ. It's changed its name now.
Ken Francis has just thrown his arms up in the air. I'm going to invite Ken to put on his headphones and tell us exactly what that hand gesture meant.
Ron Challoner,
yes.
The Great Burke.
The Great Burke.
The Great Burke's name has come up, particularly with Peter Hitchener,
right.
as one of the great comedy acts. And do you think any of us could remember exactly who it was? And Willie? That is the man.
Well, can I tell you, talking about his comedy, he emceed, Ken, the Catch a Rising Star for the up-and-comers in those days, at the top of Richmond Hill there. In, I think what was an old church hall.
Yeah, up near the Palacco factory. Yeah.
On the same ridge,
yeah.
But in Church Street. And Ron, in his guise of the Great Burke, would be emceeing, and he's, he'd come out and he'd say stuff like, "Good evening. Oh, geez, I feel crook." And that was the high vibe. He was the most hilarious character. And of course he appeared on Denise Drysdale's television show as well. He got out of the lift one morning after John Blackman, and this is me, Mr. Inexperienced. I'm not saying that I've learned anything since, well, maybe a little bit, but John Blackman fed me a line on air because I used to refer to our age difference. I'd say, "Oh, you're a balding 42-year-old dweeb." And he said, "Well, okay, my hair's a little thin." I'd say, "Well, no, you're going bald." "My hair's a little thin." Anyway, I didn't get the tag until, as we were leaving the studio and getting into the lift, Ron Challoner was getting out of the lift to come and do his show, and he looked at me and he just says, "But who wants fat hair?"
Oh, good one. Right?
Anyway, that's a story about the Great Burke for Ken.
Yeah. Hey, of course, must be one of the certain highlights of your career. Have you had much luck overseas? Have you tried your luck abroad?
Well, we went twice overseas with Hey Hey It's Saturday, but to do shows from, in 91, Warner Brothers Studios in Hollywood, and 96, Walt Disney World in Florida.
Yeah.
Prior to that, though, I suppose the success we had to go, well, they were for Australian broadcast, so they were a lay-down misère.
Yeah.
And, we didn't really try and crack the market of television over there at all. One organisation in which I was involved that tried to crack it, so to speak, overseas, was Jojo Zepp and the Falcons.
Yeah.
And we toured around the world on the strength of two tunes, really, Shape I'm In and Hit and Run, and that was in 1980. And we went to London, the Montreux Jazz Festival in Switzerland, then back to Amsterdam, and then back to London, and then to the United States of America. They were the songs. I refer to Shape I'm In as the tune that took us around the world.
Yeah.
But we did some really successful concerts there, and I think in that day, you had to go back and follow it up, Philip. You had to, we played live to Air FM and did all the right things and received all the right accolades, but nothing like LRB or Men at Work or, you know, or Midnight Oil or In Excess. You know,
it's so tough overseas.
That's right.
Even Slim Dusty had the door slammed in his face at the Grand Ole Opry. It didn't
really?
work for him.
I didn't
Absolutely.
know that.
Yeah.
And he was such a doyen and a great representative of country music, wasn't he?
I wonder how John Farnham would have fared had he tried his luck in America.
Well,
We'll never know, will we?
oh no, he did. He did with LRB.
Yeah, well, that's true. Richard Marx wanted to take John Farnham overseas, I seem to recall, as well.
And
he became a very big fan of John.
And once they had actually heard John Farnham over there, the band Foreigner were losing their lead singer, Lou Graham. Somebody check that. And they asked...
Ken's nodding, our official music historian agrees.
Thanks, Ken.
Yeah.
And they asked John Farnham to leave LRB and replace their lead singer in that band Foreigner, who were, you know...
Yeah, huge.
Cold as ice.
Yes.
Well,
I want to know what love is.
Yeah,
that was a
great
big one for them,
song.
yes.
Yeah.
And he would have sounded good.
I want to know what love is too. So.
Yeah, we have a lot in common.
Hey, listen, the reason you're in, I want to talk about this new Warner Brothers double check, just in time for Father's Day, all 55, right. Time to Rock and Roll. Did you have a say in some of the tracks?
I had a play in some of the tracks, but the Warner's fine organisation, though they are, they compiled it, I presume, under the aegis or with the cooperation of Glenn A. Baker, our original manager, and as I've said before, the person who conceptualised the 50s rock and roll sort of thing for Old 55.
Has he done cover notes for the CD?
Yes, they come separately because they're 480 pages long and they weigh 7.5 kilograms. So you know Glenn as well.
All right, now we desperately need a break, but we will come back. We'll find out any dark and hidden secrets that Willie might have from the Old 55 era. Oh, that's all the tease we need. A bit of Old 55, and we're here. One of the reasons we're chatting to Willie Wilde tonight is because there is a new CD out, and Phil decides at this very point in time, as we're promoting a CD of Old 55, Phil drags out a CD and shows Wilbur exactly what happens to Phil's CD collection.
Yeah, this is when my dog Oro is extra hungry.
In it. Yeah.
So Wilbur's now thinking, what the hell is the point of talking to you about a CD when that's the way it's going to end up?
Well, I'm just going. It looks as though a pit bull has attacked that. Is that what sort of?
No, only a golden retriever. But I'll make sure the Old 55 anthology is out of reach.
And that track we were listening to, 16, of course, sung by Jimmy Boy Manzi, who is part of the classic lineup of Old 55, performing alongside Joe Giuseppe and the Falcons, about whom I was talking before the break, at the Palais November 24th. What a great double bill, even if I say so myself.
Very, very good. Look forward to that very much. Old 55, when and how did Wilbur Wilde become involved? Because Old 55 existed before Wilbur Wilde arrived, right?
For not long. It was only about a month or so.
Yeah.
And they already, at the urgence of Glenn A. Baker, who was friends with Michael Gudinski, then the head guy of Mushroom Records, Glenn had pestered Michael to give these guys a record deal. So they had a record deal, which was unusual because normally bands had to go around the pubs and play and gather an audience and things like that. So they recorded Diana, I don't know, mid-June, late June of 75.
Yep.
The single went out. They played their first gig, Sans Me, on July 4th, and I reckon I joined by about early August, as the result, in answer to your question, of an ad that I heard on 2JJ in Sydney. I was up there at the Sydney Conservatorium doing the jazz course. And the ad just said, Old 55, 50s revival band requires saxophonist. Please come out to the gig at the East Ryde Youth Club tonight if you reckon you're any good.
How
many people turned up?
Me.
Oh, well.
That was it. I was the only one
and what had you been doing?
You're supposed to say, about a dozen, and it was tough, but, they chose me.
So prior to that, what were you doing professionally?
I'd worked on the Gold Coast the year before in a nightclub. I hitchhiked to the Gold Coast in early 1974 and did a tour with Roy Orbison, playing in his band.
What sort of a guy was he?
Look, I was a jazzer, Phil, and I must say my head was pretty much stuck where the sun don't shine. And somebody said, would you like to tour with Roy Orbison? He brought his American band with him, great guitar player, great bass player, drummer and keyboardist, and why say the great, they all sang beautiful harmonies for all of that wonderful Roy Orbison stuff. And they added, in Queensland, trumpet, trombone and tenor saxophone, me. And until I heard him sing, look, the first time I heard him sing, was at rehearsal at the Southport Grand Hotel, which was our first gig. And then we eventually went to Brisbane Festival Hall and Toowoomba and Rocky and Townsville and all ports in between. But it was spine-tingling to hear him sing and to see the way that he commanded an audience. Remember, I just turned 18, and very, you know, the influence, I considered that to be one of the seminal moments in my life when Roy Orbison, with 1,500, 2,000 people in a room, sang the songs. You know. And he was look, I rode in the same car as him too, because they told me, well, look, you know, you're the tallest, you jump in the front. And Roy, on the way to Toowoomba, I distinctly remember, we were riding in a Cadillac. One of the promoters was a dodgy second-hand car dealer up there. And it's the first time I'd been in a car with electric anything. So I'm mucking around with the windows, going bzz, 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 and then I discovered the electric sliding thing for the...
Oh, to move the chair back and forth.
To move the chair back and forth. So I'm going bzz, 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 with the... You imagine me at 18.
Yeah.
Here I am at 60. But, and then I found the chair once. I go bzz, 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 and whereupon Roy Orbison leant forward, put his hand on my shoulder and said, "Can you quit screwing with the seat, son? You're crushing my legs." So that was, you know, that was the sort of guy he was to me.
Words you will carry with you for the rest of your life.
Of my life. The encouragement in showbiz.
They will inspire you. But
and then I worked in a nightclub for the rest of the year, joined Ray Brown and the Whispers, and then I'd enrolled, I'd passed the audition to get into the Sydney Conservatorium in 1975, so I hitchhiked back there, and 6 months later, or 5 months later, was when I heard the ad for Old 55, and I went out that night. And once again, this was a thing where I saw Frankie J. Holden and Jimmy Boy Manzi and Rockpile Jones and Patrick Meatballs McPatrick in their costumes and their brill-creamed hair and their V8 belt buckles and their tight black jeans, and I thought, wow, this looks like fun. And Frank Holden and I still work together today, 41 years down the...
It's 21 to 10. Wilbur Wilde is with us. We've still got so much more to discuss. We've spoken a bit about Old 55, the beginnings of it, but we also need to talk to Jojo Zepp and the Falcons. We also need to talk a bit more about Hey Hey. So we've got a lot to do and not much time.
Rocking with Wilbur Wilde. Are you in touch with Daryl Summers, mate?
We last saw Daryl, when I say we, I last saw Daryl at a wonderful birthday lunch for the incredible Ernie Carroll, who this year turned 87. So Daryl, very generous host that he is, took us out to the Flower Drum. Red and John, Murray came down from Sydney, and Ernie and Miff.
Oh, she's had two fantastic, lovely friends from way back.
Oh, look, and Daryl, we had a great catch-up. It was terrific, yeah.
All right. Any talk of Hey Hey coming back, maybe online, perhaps?
Look, well, it's online at the moment. Daryl's uploading digitised versions of the show to subscription, Hey Hey subscription thing, which is going great guns.
Are you getting royalties for that?
Oh, I don't know.
Why is it all about money for you, Phil? Wilbur does it for the love.
I haven't really thought about it.
Oh, I'll be your manager,
No,
mate.
I mentioned before that I got into this business for the chicks, the booze, the laughs, and the music. That's what I'm still in it for. Except I've got a girlfriend.
Okay. Well, wouldn't it be wonderful if Hey Hey came, maybe 4 specials a year or something, like as in the past?
Well, as you know, to employ enough people full-time to facilitate those specials, and Hey Hey, you know, television production's a big thing. But we'll see. Look, you know what I say, Philip? You don't know what's around the corner.
That's right.
And Phil, when you get to my age, I think you'll start agreeing with me.
And one phone call can change it all, can't it?
Okay.
Now, back to Old 55 for a minute. What's the biggest gig Old 55 played?
I reckon it was the concert of the decade 1979 on the steps of the Sydney Opera House. We were on the steps facing out to the forecourt. And
never cracked it for indoors, huh?
We did actually. We did in the small theatre at the Opera House, and they were some really good gigs, and we sold them out. So there. But the 1979 gig was a huge thing with Stevie Ray, Easy Beats.
Stevie Wright,
and Masters Apprentices and Dragon, and it was a huge concert. The police estimates of the crowd were 300,000.
Okay, conversely, what's the worst audience you've ever played to?
Well, personally, I played to, it was a 300-seat theatre, and I played just solo saxophone to one guy.
Oh, what's the story?
He started heckling me, so I walked off.
Frankie always had a mean streak.
Well, I will tell you a story. It involves Jojo Zepp and the Falcons, and this is true. I was talking to our Warner representative, whose home state is Pennsylvania, but on the other side of the country, in California. The Falcons played at a baseball stadium, a very famous one. It's called the Oakland Coliseum. It's in the Bay Area of San Francisco, and it's the home ground, if you will, of the Oakland Athletics baseball team. So on a Sunday morning, for a Bill Graham, who was a legendary rock promoter, the Winter Garden and Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix and all that, he, as a favour to one of our blokes, put us on the same bill as Journey, Cheap Trick, Black Sabbath. You remember that guy, Ozzy Osbourne? You know, and
Phil's got all his albums.
Oh well, no, I mean, you know, and but very heavy metal. You know, and the Falcons weren't that. So the fans, 65,000 of them, who'd flooded into the stadium as soon as the doors opened, and there was some jockeying for best position and things like that. It was a bit of a fight. And I broke out, and I thought, oh, here we go. And we walked on stage. They were expecting Journey and Black Sabbath, and, you know, what's that thing that Ozzy used to do? And anyway, we've come on going... Paranoid.
Thank you, Ken.
You know, thank you, Ken. And we've come on going, you got to keep a foot in the run, in the hide. And Phil, without a word of lie, they threw stuff at us. They threw food. They threw coins. Our bass player ended up with a gash in his forehead, and he was follically challenged anyway, so you could see this blood. And now we had the choice of staying on stage for our allotted 25 minutes, or really acceding to the crowd's wishes and nicking off. Yeah. And Joe Camilleri, fearless leader though he was, said, right, we're sticking around.
Did you win them over?
We did. Around about the 15-minute mark, the Falcons, as well as playing this reggae-based stuff, we were a tough rock and roll band, and we played some Otis Redding, and we got in there with some really good Australian rock and roll, and they'd calmed down a little bit. 65,000 people calmed down.
Did you guys actually open the festival?
We opened the festival.
That's tough, isn't it?
Well, it was. It was, you know, tough going on. But just as we were winning them over, most of them, an egg landed next to Joe's saxophone. And Joe Camilleri stood there, stepped up to the microphone and said, that was a rotten shot. No wonder you lost the Vietnam War in 1980. So at that point, I hid under the piano.
Yeah.
Baseballs, bits of wood.
Gee, that was a quick retort, wasn't it?
I thought it was fantastic.
It's a good retort, but not unless you're behind chicken wire or something.
Well, and
were you wearing your bulletproof vest?
No, but it was a bit of a baptism of fire to our American campaign.
Hey, mate,
can't understand why they didn't invite us back, Phil. What do you reckon?
Ken, yes.
Willie, speaking of 55, and of course you're into the Falcons, Old 55 in 1976 were one of the biggest Australian bands. Take It Greasy, absolutely huge. You're up there with the Hooks and Sherbet and AC/DC.
That's right.
How and why did it all fall apart so quickly? Because basically it was really only Take It Greasy. There was the follow-up live album, Five's Live Jive. That's right. Really it was only that one mega album from that original lineup.
Well, that was the platinum album that in 1976 knocked ABBA out of first position on the national album charts. So in that respect, I think we did everybody a favour. But after that, Ken, with respect, they did have hits. This is Sons, Frankie J and I. Now, I left the band, in fact, the same day that Frank did. It was a Sunday afternoon in Canberra, mid-May. And Frank announced his retirement to go off and pursue his acting career, and / drive cabs. And I thought, it's not going to be nearly as much fun without Frank.
Yeah.
And I said, righty, I'll go and do something else too. Didn't know what it was going to be. But after we left, Rockpile had a hit with Stay While the Night Is Young. Tell me, Ken, is that right?
Yeah, I actually didn't want to mention that after you guys left, the band had a couple of their biggest hits ever with Stay While the Night Is Young and Feels Like a Summer's Night. I didn't want to mention it while you're here, Willie.
No, but that lineup is the classic lineup of Old 55. Our drummer, unfortunately, rode on ahead about 10 years ago now. Jeff Plummer, the late Jeff Plummer, there will be homage paid to him. But the replacement drummer, and could you tell me if you could get a more appropriate one, is, in fact, from Skyhooks, Freddie Strauks, who's a long-time friend of ours.
Well, there you are. You rest your case.
It's a bit incestuous.
Tell me why.
Yes.
Tell me why, Wilbur, I should be at the Palais Theatre Theatre on Thursday, November 24th.
Well, if Frank was here, he'd say, if you want to jilly-jive and bust around, we've got the sound. We've got 850 whaling pounds of sound. We've got more bounce to the ounce. We're going to make you hard. We're going to take you way up there in the sky, make your liver quiver. If you can't handle this mess, you're at the wrong address. Whamma jamma, let me dig you. Get your kicks from those loving chicks. It's all 55 live at the Palais, November 25 double bill. Special double bill. Jojo Zepp and the Falcons.
Which means you'd never be off stage.
Oh, I'm trying to acquire a little bit of match
By
fitness.
the way, I have to agree, you're in Sydney at 25. You'll be in Melbourne at the Palais on the 24th.
24th, I beg your
That's a
pardon.
Thursday night.
Thank you.
And it's going to be absolutely huge, and tickets go on sale tomorrow.
I think they're Ticketek, are they?
Yeah.
No, Ticketmaster for the Palais.
You all right?
Yeah, Ticketmaster for the Palais.
Ticketmaster, yeah.
Ticketmaster for the Palais.
Yeah, and the State Theatre.
Yeah, okay, 136-100 for tickets for...
Thanks, guys.
Because they'll go in a week, those tickets. Yeah.
Well, look, it's the Palais is just such a historical and hysterical venue.
Yeah.
And, you know, just the history of the Palais is wonderful, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, and they're renovating it too. It's here to stay, thankfully.
Ken's signalling for a break, so we've got to get to him.
Yeah, sure.
Very quickly, do you need to rehearse, or does it just happen?
Oh, no, look, we'll do our, at least, look, we'll be up at the crack of noon for a 2-hour rehearsal, at least one day before.
All right! If you want to jilly-jive and bust around, we've got the sounds, 850 whaling pounds of sound. We got more bounce to the ounce. This is another knockdown 1950 nifty. This is gonna take you high, high up there in the sky, up there where the air is rare. Gonna make you flap your wings and do crazy things. Get your kicks from those loving chicks. This is it. If you want to move it, if you want to groove it, if you want to get it uptight, get it out of sight, make it feel good, make it feel alright, get it on, get it up there tonight. This is the one from my man, the king, the real thing, the ring-a-ding-ding, the oh-so-very merry Mr. Chuck Berry rolling over.
Willie Wilde live in studio. We got you to bring the sax in, Willie.
I did. I've brought the saxophone with me at Phil's behest.
Yes.
And I have, now, Philip, I'm going to play a TV theme because you're a TV expert.
Okay, see if I can identify, Wilbur. Thanks.
And it's a bit of a classic saxophone tune. Here we go.
Okay.
Here we go.
Could it be The Pink Panther by Henry Mancini?
I was going to ask you for an extra point. The composer was Henry Mancini.
Exactly,
It's a
yeah.
bit of a tricky one. It's a TV theme nonetheless.
Another one?
Do you know, Phil?
Bring back Hey Hey.
Hey, hey, it's Saturday.
All right.
It's the closing theme.
And extra points, composer?
Perhaps Ricky May.
Yes. What a good guess.
How's that?
Well
What
done.
a good
And
guess.
one more, mate.
Last one, it leads us back into the CD. That's a clue.
On the
On the
prowl.
prowl.
Hey, buddy.
All right.
Now, folks, go out tomorrow and buy Time to Rock and Roll, the anthology, Old 55. Almost 60 classic tracks here, including a lot of material that's never been previously released on CD.
Never been heard, even by the band.
And thanks to Karen at Warner Brothers for bringing you in tonight, mate. It's always such a pleasure. It's so much fun. And we'll look forward
Likewise,
to
you
seeing
guys.
you at the Palais later in November. Wilbur Wilde, everyone.
Gather round us, and our heads will really swell. We'd sing songs by the river flows, the harp tones. When we sang sincerely, we really sang it high. Even though it was for sale, we almost reached the sky. We sung a lot of changes since 1955, and a lot of bad arrangements we tried to harmonize. Now they've turned into oldies, but they were newies then. And today when I played my old 45s, I remember when we were looking for an answer to our sound, a place to be in harmony, a place we almost found. Looking for an echo, an answer to our sound, a place to be in harmony, a place we
Finally, I can say I did a duet with Wilbur Wilde. Thanks, Willie.
Yeah, man.
Oh, there we are. Memories of the past.
Yeah.
And thanks to Wilbur Wilde. What I love about the guy, he is so professional. He always gives 100%, doesn't
Yeah,
he?
he is amazing.
Oh, he's just so full of energy, that man.
He's fabulous. A wonderful talent, wonderful muso, wonderful
Yeah.
chat. He's just a great person to chat to.
A great identity of Australia. The funny thing is, you don't know this, coming up to news time, I was nicking outside, so I'm saying goodbye to Wilbur and shaking his hand, not realising that he's also playing looking
the
for an echo
saxophone, yes.
in the background over the song, and I'm saying, thanks a lot. Thanks, Wilbur. Hey, good to see you. The poor guy's tried to shake my hand, sign an autograph and play sax.